Alright guys, so if you've been watching my channel for a long time, you know every year I like to do top 10 comics of the year, and I usually do Marvel, DC, and then creator owned. But this year I'm going to put a new one in the list with top 8 omnibuses that you should buy this year. Now, I really liked all of these, so I'm not ranking them so much as the worst to best, but more that each one of these is worth owning, and I'm kind of going to give you a little bit of a reason why I think you should buy these, and if it is going to fit more into what the style of reading you like. So without any further ado, this is going to contain ones that are from Marvel, DC, but also I'm going to do ones that are outside of that, or at least one or two of them that aren't part of like the superhero universe, that might not be called omnibus, but they pretty much are omnibuses because they're either the entire series or a huge chunk of it, not deluxes like just 2 volumes or so, but like the entire series. Anyway, you'll see what I mean when I get in my list, but let's jump right into it. Alright, so coming in at number 8 is Secret Six. Now, this is a series that I personally really enjoy because it takes an idea that maybe had been done before, something like the Thunderbolts or even Suicide Squad, but in this, you get one thing that I think that or those series lack, is that the Secret Six are a bunch of, again, people who shouldn't be working together, mostly villains, who come together during the Infinite Crisis event and actually become this kind of weird family. I think that's what makes Secret Six so different than something like Suicide Squad, is that they feel like a family, a very dysfunctional, fucked up, weird family, but very much so a family. And what I like about this run, this one makes me laugh. There are a lot of really funny moments. Gail Simone really just nails each of the characters here. You even have Bane on the team, who is so different than the regular Bane that we get during the Batman runs. I think this is absolutely one of those secret hidden gems that only now is starting to get some love amongst the community, and I would love to see them come back. I don't know how they would do without Gail Simone at the helm, but I would like to see somebody try something like this again to kind of bring together a piece of shit amount of people all together, to bring all these terrible people, these villains, together and make them somehow work as a family, function as one. I think you'll have a lot of laughs reading this. I think this is a bit more lighthearted than Suicide Squad, but you do get some really cool, intense fight scenes as well, and I think this one is definitely worth picking up, especially if you haven't read it before. Now, my number 7 is going to be the only volume 2 on here, and it's the Green Lantern Corps. I personally really love this run. See, what Peter Tomasi did was create almost like functioning cop system within the Green Lantern. So while Jeff Johns was focused on Hal Jordan and building him back up to be a superhero, we have characters like Kyle and Guy and even John in this run kind of being more of the support cast, but they have their own story. Now, I really like this just because this is a little bit darker storyline than something like the main Green Lantern. At the same time, a lot of murdering, a lot of death, a lot of secret organizations, and what's really cool about this run, and it ends in this, is that you don't really have to read the main Green Lantern. The stuff that you do is put into these omnibuses. Now, I would definitely obviously recommend the first volume to jump into, but I think this entire run is really solid, even all the way into the New 52, and while it's not as good at the very end for me as the beginning, it's still very much worth reading. It's one of the best Green Lantern stories. I actually kind of like it more at times than the main Green Lantern story that was going on, but overall, just a great companion to Jeff Johns' Green Lantern. So if you could get all of it, that's great. But if you want more of a gritty, more cop-like scenario in space, I think this is unique in that set. And so check it out, see if you want to purchase it, but I think that most fans that don't like the typical superhero stuff might like this one a little bit more. Alright, and number 6 is going to be Ghost Rider, Danny Ketch. Now, this is a complete surprise. One of the actual omnibuses I reviewed on my channel this year, if you want to go check it out to get a more in-depth review of it, but I was really surprised at how much I like this. Yes, it is in the 90s, but it's the early 90s when Marvel and DC were really still focused on storytelling and giving us really good characters and reinventing characters, and I think with Danny Ketch, they did an amazing job with Ghost Rider. When it is not spiraling into crossovers and other things like miniseries, this is one of my favorite omnibuses of the year. I think that the art is excellent. I think Ghost Rider looks better than he's ever looked. I really enjoy Danny's evolution as a character, and I think if you like that early 90s kind of edgy, but not overly edgy, like Image, mid-90s. This is one that you should check out for the art alone, but the storyline is pretty good. I don't know how the series continues past this, but the first volume is very much worth owning, and I absolutely had a blast. It was one of the biggest surprises of 2024 for me. Number 5 is Harrow County. Now, this is the one I was talking about that's not considered so much an omnibus, but it's the complete series, so I'm going to consider it omnibus, or maybe they did call it an omnibus. I honestly cannot tell you. I just bought this the second it was released, because Harrow County is absolutely one of my favorite indie creator-owned comics. Harrow County is a story about Emmy, and I don't want to go too in-depth because there's so much shit that happened. Some things that took me by surprise. And let me just tell you, as someone who reads a ton of comics, novels, manga, it is really hard to surprise me. But the twist and turns with Emmy, even in the very first arc, Town believes that she's a witch, things go absolutely insane. And as it progresses, it goes more and more in-depth into this almost like folklore feel. The artwork is like this paint water wash thing going on, and I absolutely fucking love the art in this. This is why I bought the big omnibus edition, just because I gotta look at this art in full, big size, and it looks absolutely amazing. I think this is one of the best creator-owned horror comics out there. It's in my top 20 of all time, and I think that if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of, you know, almost a coming-of-age story, which sounds really weird once you read this and how dark it gets, but it does have a lot of that, and also just this folklore, witch lore look and feel. I think this is definitely something that should be on your radar and picked up right away. It is very good, one of my favorite series of all time, and go check it out. All right, number 4 is going to be Daredevil by Chip. Now, I don't really have to say much. Daredevil is almost a must-buy at all times. There are pretty much only a handful of Daredevil stories I've read where I said, don't really want to read this again, ever. Most of them I want to reread and have reread. From Brian Michael Bendis' excellent run, to Ed Brubaker's, to Frank Miller's, and Chip. Let me tell you about Chip's run, because it is really fucking good, especially Volume 1. Volume 2 does lose me a bit, and I'm going to be honest, it probably wouldn't make my list. Not that it's terrible, it's just a definitely weaker second half. It starts off really strong, but weaker second half. This part of it, this part of Daredevil, the first run, the Volume 1, is absolutely some of the best Daredevil work I've ever read in my life. And I've read a lot of Daredevil. I have the motherfucker tattooed on my leg. That's how much I like him. I think this run is excellent. It's Daredevil kind of dealing with what he did. He actually, it's not a spoiler, it happens in the first issue. He actually murders somebody, and he has to deal with those repercussions. Now, as someone who is very religious, not me, but Matt, it is very hard for him to understand what he did and accept it. So it's really awesome to see him deal with that, but also deal with just the overall superhero community kind of not going against him, but saying you have to, you know, pay for your crime. On top of that, he is absolutely vicious in this. Some of the best fight scenes ever. There's actually a part in this series where the villains come at him, a bunch of them, and it's like a city blown out war, and it is absolutely some of the coolest superhero shit I've ever seen. So yeah, if you're a fan of Daredevil, this is like a no-brainer. It's one of the strongest runs out there, especially this half of it. And even if you're not a Daredevil fan, this is actually a great spot to jump on if you're a fan of the TV show and want to jump on somewhere. I think this is a great starting point, just like Bendis' start or even Frank Miller's. All of these are great starting points and well worth your money. Coming in at number 3 is Justice League Dark Rebirth. Now, I'm really happy this got printed, because I think it was always critically acclaimed. I think it had a good fan base, but I didn't think it was going to be reprinted in omnibus form so fast. And it's the entire series. Let me tell you, I like the smaller omnibuses for collection purposes and not breaking my back, but sometimes having the entire series in one big motherfucking book, this is over like 1,300 pages. It is so nice. This run is all written by James Tynion and Ram V at the later half, and it is good throughout the entire series. If you like the mystical stuff, if you like the magic world of DC, this is so fucking cool. It is also really dark, which is something that I like. It was a lot darker than a lot of the other Rebirth stuff, and while I love the more lighthearted, hopeful feeling of Rebirth, it was nice to have this at the same time. Also, I cannot stress enough how much better this run is over the new 52 Justice League Dark, which is not good. I sold that omnibus. I don't sell many omnibuses, but that was not good. This one is 10 times better. I really can't stress enough too that you could just skip that fucking shitty run and jump into this. So if you like more obscure characters, I think this one is definitely worth reading. You have a great villain here. He's scary, he's frightening, he's very powerful, and you have a great cast of characters coming together to somehow work together. So overall, Justice League Dark, if you like more of the darker side, you get it, dark, of DC, this is worth checking out right away. Number 2 is Moon Knight by Jed McKay. Now, as someone who owns every single Moon Knight omnibus, as someone who has read every single Moon Knight thing ever created, this is my favorite Moon Knight of all time. And that's hard to say because I absolutely love the original run for Moon Knight. I think it's one of the most fun and kind of dark storylines of the 70s and 80s. But this is my favorite. This is so good. And maybe it's because I read all the other Moon Knights that this is my favorite, because this series has a lot of cool little callbacks. But even if you don't know the callbacks, this is Moon Knight at his best. Let me tell you who Moon Knight is. He is a guy who dresses in all white because he wants you to see him coming, because he's going to beat your ass. And this is what's so fun about Moon Knight. He is unhinged. He has multiple personalities. You don't know what he's going to do, and that's what makes him great. But also the fact that he thinks he's such a badass that it comes off so cheesy at times, but you can't help but love it, because he's scary as hell, because he will put your fucking head in a goddamn grinder. I just love Moon Knight because he's unpredictable. He's always fun. He's always a badass. He has a lot of different styles with his different looks. The art in this run is absolutely beautiful. It's some of my favorite ever in comics. Moon Knight is great, and not only is this part great, the first volume, but so far I've been keeping up with what's going to be in the second volume, and that's also great. So I can safely tell you, Moon Knight is not only one of the best comics to read, but this is an omnibus that is a must-own for both fans of the original Moon Knight series or any of the Moon Knight series, and then even people who just want to jump in for the first time with Moon Knight. This is an excellent starting point. It is an amazing run. And my last one is Scalped Volume 1. Now, I really wish we had Volume 2 this year, but it's coming out very early next year. And I gotta be honest, I feel bad saying this. I never really read Scalped till now. And I was a fucking fool. Let me just tell you that, because this is one of my favorite comics ever now. I think the grittiness of it, if you like things like The Wire or Breaking Bad or anything like that, or even the newest show like Penguin, if you like that gritty, kind of fucked up, twisty world of drugs and terrible people, this is a must-own. This is as pretty much as bleak as you can get in terms of just the setting. A really shitty town who's ran by this criminal overlord who is pretty smart in the way he runs his business, but of course things are falling apart. We have a lot of undercover cops in this that actually surprised me at one point. I think that this is everything I like about like real good TV shows put into comic form, and has some great characters. So if you like the darker side of things, more realistic obviously than pretty much everything I listed on here, this is a must-own. I think it is one of Vertigo's best now that I've read it, and there's a lot of great Vertigo comics out there. Scalped is absolutely a must-own for any fans who want that gritty Breaking Bad, The Wire, The Shield type storyline. And that is my list. Now, there's a lot of great omnibuses this year. These are the ones that really stood out to me, and these are the ones that I think are different enough that I can recommend them. I think that all these omnibus could hit a different audience, or you could be like me who likes different styles and different storylines and read all of these and love them all. So it's really hard to tell, but these are the ones that stood out. I think the biggest surprise to me was Ghost Rider. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did, and I really loved it. But also, I'm just so glad to get things like Justice League Dark printed in omnibus form. And of course, Scalped makes me feel like, God, I wish I read this sooner because it's that good. But any of these omnibuses, if you have any interest in them, I can safely say these are all worth owning, which is a nice thing to hear from my point of view, obviously, not everybody's. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button because that means a lot. If you loved it, please hit the subscribe button. I still have a couple more videos coming out this year, especially comic related. We have the top 10 creator owned, which usually comes out closer to the end of the month. I'm still reading a few to catch up before I make that finalized list. But if not, you can check out my DC Comics of the Year. I did the video a few days ago, as well as Marvel. So go check that out on my channel. And everybody, I hope you go and enjoy some good comics. I hope you pick up some for Christmas. I hope your loved ones do. My wife picked me up too, so I'm very excited to get those opened on Christmas. And everybody, have a wonderful comic-filled day. There we go. That's a good tagline. Oh my God, I don't normally do that, so if it comes off corny, I don't know, just go with it.